Hey y'all, before we get into this next episode, I just stopped in to make a quick announcement. So if this is your very first time tuning into an episode of Dem Bois Podcast, welcome. My name is Sean Aaron, he, him, his. I am the founder and executive director of Dem Bois Inc., and I am also the host of this show. So I want to share an important update about where we are as an organization and invite members of our community and those who deeply care about our mission to partner with us in leadership. Dem Bois is entering a season of strategic planning as we prepare for long-term sustainability and greater impact for trans men of color. And as a part of this next chapter, we are officially recruiting new board members to help guide and shape the future of our work. We're currently looking for leaders to serve in the following roles. So, board chair, fundraising and external relations board member, program and community engagement board member, and also general board members. We welcome trans men of color, queer and trans people of color, and allies who are grounded in equity, community care, accountability, and vision. So you might be a strong fit if you have experience in leadership, nonprofit governance, fundraising, or community programming, or if you bring lived experience, creativity, and a strong network. Or you may feel called to support trans men of color with intention, heart, and action. And as a board member, you will help expand and strengthen the work we started, work rooted in visibility, care, and possibility. So if you're interested, or if someone in your network comes to mind, please check out the information included below in the show notes. You can also click the link that's there in order to apply. And for any questions, you can reach out to our strategic planning consultant, Joy King, at joy@sweetlifebusinesscoaching.com. Or you can email us directly at hello@dembois.org. And so all of this information is included below, so you don't have to think about it. You can just go ahead and scroll down and click the information there. So together we can build the future that trans men of color deserve, because visibility equals possibility. So thanks again for supporting Dem Bois Podcast. Now let me go ahead and get up out of here so you can listen to this episode. Take care.
Ways that you can pay. Drop my head, got overwhelmed. Insurance said I gotta wait, but like I can't. Someone told me about dembois.org, how to give out grants. But gender affirming surgery, now I have a chance. Never know.
My next guest I had the privilege to sit down with is the senior national organizer with the organization Advocates for Trans Equality. And so they describe their hormone journey as a meaningful source of healing as a trans person and survivor. And so within this episode, we talk a lot about just that, survival, and ways in which as trans people we need to survive, and ways in which we are put into situations when we need to survive, I should say. And so this is a really great episode, and we talk a lot about a lot of different things about their work, about their education, how their gender identity has informed the work that they do within the community. We talked about the political climate and trans leadership. So this is a really good episode. I know that you're going to enjoy.
Dem Bois, Dem Bois, amplifying trans men of color voices. Yeah, we here making noise, making noise, Visibility equals possibility, you know we them boys, them boys, amplifying trans men of color voices, yeah, we here making noise,
Hey, thanks for tuning into this episode. Real quick, before we get started, I just wanted to issue a trigger warning. Things discussed within this episode may cause an emotional response, a physical response, even a nervous system response, or a visceral response. So first, make sure to take care of yourself. Give yourself the time and space that you need to process this episode, or maybe just pause it here, come back later and listen to it at another date or time. Or maybe you can get a friend, a family member, or a loved one to listen to the episode with you in order to help support you through the episode. And the episode is starting now. Welcome to Dem Bois Podcast. I'm your host, Sean Aaron, he, him, his. My next guest is a senior national organizer at Advocates for Trans Equality. They hold a PhD in community psychology from Wichita State University, and they describe their hormone journey as a meaningful source of healing. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Sean. I'm so blessed to be here.
Yes, I'm so happy to have you here. I'm so excited to dive into everything about you. I'm so excited. And so you want to go ahead and introduce yourself for folks who don't know who you are, name, pronouns?
Yeah, my name is Devon Ojeda. Pronouns are they, he. Some days it's he, him. I am a husband to a trans man that I love. We both actually work together at A4TE. He works on the policy side. We also have a dog named Steve-O and a cat named Franklin. And we've been living it up in Baltimore and about to start our fertility journey. So excited about that. I'm also a survivor of suicide, survivor of sexual assault and other forms of violence. And I'm also a proud immigrant. I was born in Lima, Peru, and I was just 3 months old when I moved to the United States.
Yes, thank you for that beautiful introduction. Thank you. So Baltimore, are you from Baltimore or just got there?
No, we just got there. We moved. We used to live in DC. And then right after the election, we were like, we need to get the hell out of here. So we found an apartment by December and moved in. And so we've been happy ever since. It was a good choice. I think policy impacts us a lot, or politics impacts us a lot. So I think we needed a space that is kind of further away from all of it, but still close enough for us to still do our jobs.
Yeah. And it's a blessing too to be able to say, yo, we getting up out of here, and to have the resources to get up and move, right? And so how is it in Baltimore? Are you settling in okay? Or you like it there?
Yeah, I mean, this is this is a very pro-trans, pro-queer city. We live in an area that's really close to both of the stadiums, and even the folks here in our neighborhood are very they're very, welcoming. At one point, I don't drink. I haven't drank alcohol in like 3 years, so I'm always sober. And my husband and I and our friend Nikki, we're walking around the streets of Baltimore, and these two bro guys, like very sports looking guys who were like belligerently drunk, came up to us and was like, "Are you all okay? No one's bothering you? No one's like giving you shit?" And we're like, "Yeah, we're fine." So, and so that's kind of like the vibe in Baltimore, is that it seems that people are looking out for each other. And we just started going to a Unitary Universalist church recently, and they've welcomed us with open arms and had us we signed our membership last weekend, and everyone was like celebrating us. So we feel really welcome here.
It's beautiful to move into a city from another city, to feel welcome, to feel at home, really, and to find a church home. That's nice as well, right? And I want to say that I don't hear many trans folks or many queer folks at all saying that they, associate with any church home. And so to know that you were able to find one and it was welcoming, and that's beautiful. And then building a family, right? And so getting ready to build a family, planning on a family, that's amazing. So congratulations to that. And that decision is huge. And so, I wish you the best of luck in that journey as well.
Thank you so much. And it's really thanks to our union contract. We're a unionized shop at A4TE. We have incredible health insurance, and we have a gender affirming care pool that we're going to rely on. And if anybody wants to ask me about unionizing, I'm all here. I think everyone should be in a union, and especially trans people right now definitely should belong to a union right now.
Oh, nice. I definitely want to get more into that in a little bit, right? Because there's like people see it in both ways, right? And so just for you to say, hey, if you were trans identified or anybody wanting to be unionized, That's the first here on this show. So I would love to talk about that in a bit. And so I like to ask my guests about their names, right? We as trans folks, we get that opportunity to shed something old and bring in something new if we so choose, right? And so I want to know, how did the name Devon, how did that choose you?
Oh, it's just a long story. Is it okay if I tell?
I
Okay.
love long stories. Go for it.
Yeah, so I started at A4TE. It used to be NCTE, and then I merged with TILDEF, which is it's a Transgender Legal Defense Fund. I can't believe I remember that. Education fund. But beforehand, I was at NCTE, and it was 2020, and I was still a she day. Definitely in the closet, and was taking like the T gel like a little bit. I think as a survivor, I had a hard time with masculinity. Um, and like I remember there was a blog post a long time ago, and I wish I remember who wrote it. But the title was, are you non-binary or are you just afraid of masculinity? And that hit me like a ton of bricks. Because I've had so many men and so many boys harm me ever since I was 4 years old, and I was still at NCTE and still very much in the closet. And then when in June 20, June 2022, I think, 2023, it was right after the Roe decision fell. I was deeply, deeply into my alcoholism, and I just came out of the rally. And I felt as a survivor that not only not only did I have control of my body, now the government doesn't have now the government has control of my body. And it put me in a very, very dark place. And 2 weeks before, I lost a friend to suicide, who happened to be trans. And so I was in a really horrible, dark place. And the night, that day, I should have known I was like not okay, because I grabbed a bottle of wine and chugged the whole thing, walked around the streets of DC, just like in despair. And my ex-boyfriend picked me up. And then that night, I think he just couldn't handle it anymore. And he ended our relationship. And I think that pushed me towards the edge, like towards the ledge. And I took like a whole bottle of, I think they were like sleeping aids, and took like 500 pills. And I had friends to come and pick me up that night. And I started seizing, and they had to take me to the ER. And they coded me 13 times. And I was pronounced dead for 10 seconds. And the nurse begged the doctor to try one more time. And um, and my heart started beeping again. and um, and I was outside of my body. I had a near death experience, and I saw a white hallway, and this woman in this like 1950s like get up, in a black dog. And I had a black dog at the time named Garnet. She passed away a few months ago, or last year actually. Um, and I followed them through the hallway, and I saw like a bed surrounded by faceless people. And I laid down on the bed, and the faceless people started cheering. And then the next thing I know, I woke up 3 days later, and I was so confused. I had memory loss for like a month, like a whole month of memory loss. I didn't remember where I was. I didn't even know my relationship was over. I was so confused, and I was so confused because my parents were around. All of my siblings were around. And at that point, like my brother was like, that's not their name anymore. And you all need to start respecting it because this is why they're there right now. Um, and then I had to recover for 2 or 3 months. I had to go to physical therapy to regain my body because all of the organs shut down. And they put me in a freezer to slow the death down. And at one point, they were telling my parents that I may be brain dead. But my mom, we kind of joked that she's kind of like a bruja, because she's like, no, I don't think Devon's dead or Devon, didn't have brain damage. And I ended up going to a trauma center in Dominion, and it's one of the leading trauma centers in the country. And I started learning that I had heavy CPTSD, and then I had a therapist who kicked my ass. And I'm a community psychologist. I've done clinical work before I went to grad school. I know what to say when somebody's asking me if I have ideation. Like I know what techniques they're using, but this therapist was like, no, it was like a boxing match, but in a good way. And that's when I realized that I have a soul. And I think, as trans people, the opposition attacks our spirituality by design. They go for faith because they know that they know if we don't have a relationship with faith, that we're going to feel isolated. And right now, for me, spirituality is so important. And I almost feel like it's the most radical thing I can do at this very moment, is to continue my spiritual path. But at the trauma center, I had a friend, Shay, who we still talk. You kind of trauma bond with the people at the trauma center. We all show up there at our lowest. And I was telling her that I was thinking about changing my name to Devon. And then the next day, she came up to me and she showed me this cute bookmark, and it was rainbow colored, and then the name Devon. And I knew then that that was going to be my name. And so when I got out of the trauma center, I went to full blown HRT, um, and then booked my appointment for top surgery, and just told my parents that, like, this is the first time that I'm taking control of my life and in my body. Um, and I'm a man. And it took them a while, but it was better than seeing me die at the hospital bed. And you know, I think my family is so stuck on the colonization of Peru, and have such a colonized mind of the gender binary. But when you look at indigenous people in Peru, they celebrated gender diversity. They had same sex, they performed same sex intimacy as rituals. And, there was a place for trans and queer people to be. And it was the colonization of the Andean culture and their perspective that dominated and pushed this binary narrative. But trans people have always been here, queer people have always been here. And so, you know, when I changed my name to Devon, it felt like a reclamation of myself. And I find that HRT really saved my life as a survivor. I experienced child sexual assault when I was 4 years old, and it was by the same abuser from that we, you know, every now and then saw because they were family members. And so I was experiencing this level of violence every now and then from the age of 4 to the age of 15. And this person used a lot of fat phobia. And so I was so confused, I didn't have the autonomy and the ownership of my body. for a long time because of it. I thought that the reason why I hated my body was because of fat phobia. And it turned out that I'm just a trans man. And it's hard to hear the whole groomer narrative, the whole, survivor. I'm with survivors like from, GOP women, like Nancy Mace and MTG, who say, I stand for survivors, but then in the same token, they're attacking trans people. And it's like, no, you don't care about all the survivors. And if you actually understood my life and my story, you would understand that being trans is what saved me.
Mhm.
And the only reason why I was able to heal from my survivorship has been because of HRT. And I'm learning that now because I have to stop it for fertility treatments. And so it's a struggle. And I'm reminding myself that, this is temporary and, is for our future. But, it's also an acknowledgement that HRT does help a lot um, and help me feel, like I'm at home. And so, yeah, all this to say that's how, that's how I got my name.
First, I want to say thank you for being vulnerable and sharing that story with not just me, but the world. So anybody that's listening, right? And I want to honor that. And I want to also say that I'm so glad that you are here.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you are here. I'm glad that the plan that the universe had on your life was greater than what you thought your plans were. And so I'm glad that you're here. There are so many wonderful things in this world for you to see, to experience, to, to inspire other people. Right. And so, and it's a testimony of like how resilient we are in our trans bodies. Right. And despite all of the things, we still choose to show up and be authentic. Right. And I'm so glad that you are here. And I wanna ask you, because you reflected on that moment. We say you were pronounced dead for like 10 seconds, and you saw the woman in the 1950s get up, Black Dog, and you saw faceless people. I want to ask you, do you remember, like, did those people have a message for you, or like, did they communicate something to you about, I mean, and this could be subconscious, right? I don't know if you've ever reflected on it, but like, is this a message that's for you in the right now? So is this something that was supposed to be taken away in that moment and you're supposed to be using it right now? Is there anything that you got from that experience?
Yeah. They weren't forming words, but the message I got subconsciously, and I'm glad you said that because that's exactly what happened, is that I am not ready to be here. I'm not ready to be here. And it felt like the woman and the Black Dog was treating me like I was lost. Like, oh, wait, you're not supposed to be here. Let us take you back. And I try to research a bit about Black dogs, especially. There's been several cultures and perspectives that name a Black dog as a guide to the spiritual world. And there's even stories about near-death experiences where a Black dog just does show up. And that feels a little validating. But yeah, the message I got was, you're not ready. You're not ready. You have so much to give and you're not ready. And every day I feel like there's a moment where I'm like, damn, I am so glad I'm alive. And like the biggest example is my husband. Um, we first met each other at a lobby day on the Hill. He just started working at the organization, and we took pictures in front of the Marjorie Taylor Greene sign, and I joked that we found love there, like we had found love at a hopeless place, like Rihanna, But he especially makes me feel like I am so grateful and so blessed that I get to experience this when I almost wasn't able to, because at that time I didn't know who he was. So I feel like my life has been almost divine.
I love that. That is divine. Yes, it is. I love that. That's a perfect word to use. And the reason why I asked you about if the faceless people said anything to you was because prior to us starting this recording, I was telling you about season 1 and episodes that I talked about, my solo episodes, and the one being about homelessness. And I I wanted to take my life as well. I was homeless in the car. I saw no end to it. And I was only 19 years old, 20 years old. I didn't see an end. I didn't see my life right now. I'm about to be 45 years old. I didn't see this at all. Right. And I had that moment where I just cried myself to sleep prior to doing what I was going to do, to take my own life. And I had that vision in my dream of like, no, this ain't it. There's something else for you to do. Right. And so just like I'm glad that you're here, I'm also glad that I didn't make that decision as well. Right. Because here I am. Here we are talking to each other. Right. And you making a difference in the things that you do in your life. And I'm here carrying out my mission, doing what I'm supposed to be doing in my life, right? And we're helping people, and we're helping people to heal, and helping people to have access to things and do different stuff, right? Because we are here, right? And so I want to ask you, is there a message that you may have for somebody that's listening who think they're at their wits' end? And there's a lot going on right now, right? There's a lot. It's just too many things to name. That there's and for trans identified folks, queer identified folks is heavy, right? The everyday is heavy with this political climate. And so, is there anything that you can say to folks that they're listening to us about holding on and about the future?
Yeah, I first want to say I'm glad that you're here. This is not easy to talk about, and I really appreciate your vulnerability. And so, this is something so at work, we have volunteer huddles. We have coalition spaces. We engage with the community a lot. And I always end, I try to end things on a note of reminding people that the most radical thing you can do right now is to keep living. And the biggest thing you can do to resist the fascism that we're facing right now is to thrive and live anyways. People are like thinking, why are you starting your fertility journey right now? And we always respond with, because that's the most radical thing we can do now. It is our dream to become dads. It is our dream to build our family. It is our dream to pass on our queerness, and regardless of what our kid is going to be, it's important for us. And we're not going to let the opposition take that away from us. We'll find HRT, even if outside the medical system, right? We'll choose to live no matter what. And I think about going back to the colonization of Peru. The Andean people, they will put their queer art and their queer deities within the churches that were built by the Spaniards, because they knew they couldn't document it any other way. And they put that there for people like me right now, because even though they were being colonized, they still found ways to live their lives. And I think about that often, because I need people to understand that, yes, shit is bleak, but that doesn't mean you're not queer. That doesn't mean that you have to gaslight yourself in this. You don't have to participate in their BS. What you can do is choose to live, choose to do what you need to do in order to not only survive, but to experience trans joy, to experience the things that you need to experience to feel fulfilling. And so my advice for people is to always choose to live, because that is the most radical thing you can do right now.
Yes. Even when it's hard, still the most.
Even when it's hard.
Yes.
I think, hope is a discipline. And we've heard that many times. I think choosing to live and thriving is a discipline. It's a discipline. Because it's hard. It's hard when you have a system that hates you, that dehumanizes you. But they're gonna get more pissed the longer you live. That's what they want you to do. They want you to feel hopeless. Don't let that get to you. And I know that's easy to say, especially me. I am very privileged where I'm at. I'm at a job that respects me as a person. It's unionized. We have a lot of great benefits. We live in a state that is very trans friendly. But there was moments where I was at my lowest, and find the little ways to live and to continue living. And that's I beg people to stay alive, because we'll get through this together.
You said you beg people to stay alive. Is that what you said? I dare you. I'm gonna say I dare you.
Dare you.
I dare you to. Right.
Yeah.
And that's beautiful. One thing that I love that you said within that, and I don't know if maybe you do, because it's probably just the language that you use, but you said that whatever your child is going to be. I love that. You said, you can raise your child. Well, whatever your child chooses to be, that's what your child chooses to be. And I think that's a testament also of our queer and trans bodies, of like, we had to battle that shit. Right. Yeah. And people don't realize that raising a child, you want to have a child, and so people plan and people have a baby, but then that's exactly what you're doing. You're planning to have a child. You're planning to bring another human being in this world, but you have no control over who that person is going to be. Your job is to love them because they are your child, and you made that choice to bring them here, and to guide them to be good. I don't like to say productive, but good, successful, or whatever that means to them, adults, and to contribute in this world that's gonna make this world a better place, right? But it's whatever that child is going to be, and whomever that child is going to be. And I love that you said that, right? And it's a testament to our own experiences of, I can't speak for you, but just for me, of my parents. I haven't talked to my dad in almost 15 years because he just said I was always going to be his baby girl. Well, then we don't ever have to speak again, right? You have no control over that. This is my life. The only thing that you had was conception, and that's it. And you weren't there to feed me or clothe me or any of those things, so you can't control my adulthood, right? And so I love that you said that, of allowing a child to be.
Yeah. There was somebody, I'm trying to remember who told me this, but they said something that was very pivotal to my values. They said, if a person tells you that they've never faced oppression, they're lying, because they were children. And I think children are one of the biggest marginalized groups that we see right now. We don't treat them as people. And I've listened to so many testimonies. I've listened to so many hearings of people just talking about trans children like they can't make decisions for themselves. And the thing is, like, we don't have ownership of children. Like you said, we can guide them, but they're going to be whatever person they're going to be. And all you can do is share your values and hope for the best. But I think it's very important to treat children like people. And I know that's simple to say, but a lot of people don't know that. A lot of people feel like they have to have some form of control. And it's a form of marginalization.
Yes. Damn it, that was good. Listen, that was so good, because people allow their children to, I've said this before in the past, people allow their children to say what they want to eat, what they want to wear, but you're not allowing a child to tell you who they are, you know what I'm saying? Like, I have a friend, and she has a son, and he's 3. He's about to be, he's 3. And I tell her all the time, like, for one, she's like, oh, he, about going to school. If a child said they don't want to go to school even at 3, they know they don't want to fucking go to school that day. They need a mental health day, but we don't listen to children. And then you send that child to school when they already told you before they left the house they wasn't feeling like going. And now that child acted out for the whole day and you getting a call from the office because the kid was bad. Well, if you listen to your child, when your child said, I don't have the mental capacity to go to school today, not in those words, right? Because they're a child, but I don't want to go. That's enough to say, you know what, I'm going to listen to my child. I'm going to find another thing for my child to do today while I go to work, right? We have that as adults. If you don't feel like going to work, you say, I'm calling in sick today. Why are you sick? No, I'm not sick. I just don't want to fucking go. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like listening to your child, right? It's like children know what they want. The one thing that all queer and trans folks have in common is that we were once children. Right. Yep. And I knew as a child who I was. I didn't have the language for it. I didn't know exactly which direction it was going to go, but I knew there was something different about me. But I didn't get that opportunity to express that until I was a teenager, early 20s. Right. And so I love that. I just love that. Yeah. That's a star to me that says you're ready to be a parent. Like when you get that.
Thank
right?
you. I'm a little nervous, but we're really excited. And as a psychologist, I know that the average age a kid knows about their gender is around the age of 3. And my mom, it's so weird. My mom would say, like, I didn't see any flags when you were a kid. And I was like, wait, what the fuck do you mean? And it's because like adults are busy and, they don't have time sometimes to hear their kids out. But I think it's important. I grew up in Florida and I went to a private school, which made it harder. I was in the closet for so long. But even in the summer, I was wearing sweaters and covering my body up. And then at one point, my aunt was like, I'm going to take you to etiquette school because you're acting too masculine. And it's like, what do you mean there wasn't any flags? And it's confusing because I did have a hyper femme era phase in my life, but I think it was because I was masking. And so, God, I wish somebody heard me out when I was a kid. I wish somebody told me, queerness is okay, and transness is okay. And that's what I'm going to do with our kid, is say, be whatever you want.
Yeah.
I hope you're a good person. Maybe don't be a Republican, but we'll still love you no matter what,
Yeah.
And I don't know, that's really important for us. So.
Well, if they become a Republican, hopefully they're a good one. I don't know what that means. Maybe that's an oxymoron, but who knows?
Hey y'all, Pink Lady here. I am the producer for Dem Bois Podcast, and I am so excited to tell you about my production company, Pink Lady Productions. We collaborate with creatives like you who are driven to share your message by launching your podcast from A to Z and coaching you through the process. To learn more about our services, check out our website at pinkladyprod.com. That's PINKLADYPROD.com.
Hey, this is Joel Simu, production assistant for Dem Bois Podcast. Looking to connect with others in the community? You'll love our brand new space, Dem Bois Community Voices, on Facebook. We've created this private, moderated group specifically for trans men of color to share experiences, discuss episodes, and support each other on this journey. Ready to join us? Just click the link in our show notes to become part of this growing community.
You are the senior national organizer at Advocates for Trans Equality. Now, I know what that organization, the work that it does, because I've been following them for a while now. What can you let folks who are listening who don't know what is the work that the organization does?
Yeah, our mission is to fight for a better world for trans people, and more specifically, this country. We have several departments. We have a litigation team. who focuses mostly on healthcare and employment, I believe. We have a policy team, which my husband is part of. He does our federal affairs. He used to work for Representative Jayapal, so he's highly connected on the Hill. And then we have our organizing team, which is run by Sebastian Smith, who is my mentor and supervisor, and my colleague Alex De Rosario. And we, all three of us, organize people to take federal actions on the Federal Register, for example, to submit comments, slow the government down, to sending out state actions for any state partners that needs it, whether it's to fight a bad anti-trans bill, or to encourage people to go to hearings. And we try to provide as much support as we can on the ground. We also have a public education department who is doing a Trans Day of Remembrance event tonight, and we also have a strat comms team as well. But the goal is to continue to fight for pro-trans legislation, provide support for state groups, and to change the narrative about trans people.
Yes, change the narrative about trans people. That's it, right? And so you also have a PhD in community psychology from Wichita State University. And so how has your identity helped to shape not only your education, but your career?
Well, community psychology is not clinical. It's mostly understanding environmental ecological science, and how that impacts people and the different behaviors that they have. A lot of us tend to work in policy because of that mindset. For my identities, I struggle with it. I'm not only trans, I'm also an immigrant. I'm also a survivor. And, I use my skills that I learned in graduate school to empower people. I learned how to facilitate conversations um, and understand that I have to collect data to prove there's a problem in the first place, and to prove when something works. But as far as my identities, I think sometimes I find myself in spaces where I feel like my identities have to split. When I work with trans folks in the movement, there's no conversation about how do we protect trans immigrants. I've had senior folks tell me at one point that defunding ICE was impossible. And I remember being 10 and marriage equality was impossible, but ICE didn't exist, and then even vice versa, when I'm in brown spaces, there's some anti-trans rhetoric happening. So there's really not a full home for me sometimes, and I get to be that guy, to point that out, to remind folks that I'm not here for white trans people, and I'm not here for cisgender immigrants. Like I'm here for everyone, obviously. But the people that I try to focus the most are trans people of color, because they are always never centered, and they're always not heard. I mean, a trans Latina was the first person to raise flags about Jeffrey Epstein. I don't know if people know that, but if they actually listened to her in the beginning, maybe all of this wouldn't have happened. And I often feel like a canary in the mines when we're talking to movement folks. And I tell them, they're going after immigrants, and especially trans immigrants first, but they're going to come after you afterwards, and now we're seeing ICE going after people with citizenship, and now people are becoming anti-ICE, and it's like, where were you 10 years ago, or where were you 5 years ago, and sometimes that's frustrating. And I hope people understand that when you're fighting for marginalized people, you're fighting for yourself. When people say, how do I fight for trans rights? How do I support you all? Like, by supporting yourself, like pro-trans policies in healthcare benefit cis people too. There's cis men who can have breast cancer. And if we actually remove gender from the standardization of medicine, people will get more care, And so I think it's very important to center marginalized groups and to really hone in on the intersectionality, because that is what's going to give us all liberation.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a pecking order, right? If you're not a white cisgender man, you next.
Yeah.
And that's just it. You next. It may be they're coming for trans folks now, and it may be they're coming, it's like everybody that's not that is it, right? And everybody's under attack. But we have to realize that we all have to stick together. So if you are a black cis woman standing by trans men of color is going to help your struggle as well, right? And so it's all interconnected in a way, right? And also not to forget that we were once socialized as female, right? Socialized as women, AFAB, right? And so all of these struggles and these things intersect with one another, right? And so I can't be like, your struggle is not my struggle. No, our struggle is each other's struggle, right? Because we all are targets. So I'm grateful for the work of the organization and what you're doing, because this political climate is fucking insane.
It is.
There's no other way. There's not a pretty way to color it. It's not a nice way to say it. It's just fucking insane. And so trans folks have been the scapegoat for misinformation, for lies, right? They've run political agendas on trans folks' lives and bodies. And so when I think of like your organization is like, what other ways is the organization working to kind of like rectify this? It's a lot. So how are you working to counteract this stuff that's just coming up on a daily basis?
Yeah, I mean, part of it is telling our story, having conversations like we're having now, on a macro individual level. And then on a macro system level, we're trying to mobilize people. The Trump administration keeps putting out really bad rules that often impact us. And the best way we can do it is to gum up their system. And, so when rules come out, pay attention to our actions. We're thinking of more innovative ways to slow it down by, submitting hard copy comments, for example. We're exploring that right now. And then gumming up the system on the Hill as well. The House members, the House Democrats just put out a letter that was signed, I think, over 200 members, stating that they're against anti-trans rhetoric and it shouldn't happen on the Hill. And that was led by Representative Sarah McBride. And that didn't just come, like congressional members weren't the first people that thought about that. Advocates were behind the scenes saying, hey, we need this, because we're seeing members who are saying atrocious things. And that's part of our work, is changing the narrative on the Hill as well. And also, we have volunteer huddles every month. We provide skills, whether it's how to testify, how to share your story, all the way to how to register to vote. We have a big coalition called Voters for Trans Equality, and we're trying to build the largest voting bloc for trans people and trans allies. And so that we can scare candidates in the future. Well, not scare them, but say, hey, we're right here and we care about this issue. Mm-hmm. It should be part of your platform. And we're seeing that change, that we're seeing that pendulum swing. Zoran Mamdani is a huge proponent for pro-trans rights, for trans rights. He acknowledged Sylvia Rivera. I've never seen a candidate do that. And his pro-trans platform is probably one of the best I've seen in a long time. I was actually excited about his race, but he proved that you can have a winning campaign and still be pro-trans. And so that's the narrative we're trying to change here, is to get the Democrats, because a lot of them are like, maybe we should, they're looking at us like we're a special interest. It's like, no. The anti-trans stuff is also impacting cis people. You're focused on 8 trans people in sports when they're attacking your healthcare too. It's a distraction. And we're one of the major organizations that's trying to shift that and get people to understand that when you uplift pro-trans narratives, you will end up having a successful campaign. And so that's where I view our work is at right now. Is you're the only answer isn't just being visible, right? Because it's a scary time to be visible, and we have to respect that. But our superpower is to continue living, continue being in community with each other, continue to have those conversations with other folks who may not get it, and have the compassion to understand that some people are getting misinformation, but also, making sure that you're respected at the same time. And that's a hard line to walk sometimes. Trump brought up last year in the debate about trans immigrants and gender affirming care. And that really, it was hard because, the opposition is awful and disgusting. They're anti-immigrant, anti-trans, but then you have family and the movement side making jokes about, aliens cross-dressing. And it's like, that's transphobic as hell.
Yeah.
And it's anti-immigrant. You're like, here's these aliens cross-dressing. You're like, and it's always the white queers that did it, and instead of like being in solidarity, instead of pivoting to like, no, that's why we should have universal health care, for example, because no one's healthcare should be debated. Like if we had that kind of messaging, I feel in my gut that would have been more effective. And so I think we're here to work with folks, work with communities, gum down the system, whether that's state or federal, and trying to change the narrative and get people to understand that like when we lose our rights, they're going to lose theirs too. And that's what I'm hoping to do at this job, but also in my personal life as well.
What irritates me, because it irritates the shit out of me, is people in these positions that take an oath to protect people. Protecting people is all people, all human beings. Whether you're trans identified, whether you're unhoused, whether you are, battling with mental health issues, like these are your constituents that you took an oath to protect. If you don't want to do the job till its full capacity, stay your ass at home. Don't do the goddamn job. Let somebody else fucking do it. But we don't have to. We can be successful and not cutthroat anybody. Right? It's the scarcity mindset. I believe that if I cut this person down, it's going to be more for me. But there's enough for everybody. There is enough for every fucking body. It's plentiful for everyone, right? Your slice may not be as big, but you're still going to get a piece of the pie. You still going to get to taste that goddamn pie, right? And it's just like, it is disgusting to me, and I don't get it because I just don't live my life in that way. And so it's very hard to just imagine somebody's mindset of like, I want to be in this position of power. And people are power hungry, money hungry, all of these things, right? Greed, all of those things. But at the end of the day, I just feel like you can be more successful if everybody's coming with you. Right. There's no need to, that saying of like the crabs in the bucket. And so one crab is trying to get out and the other crabs is pulling them down. But wouldn't it be, what's so good if you the crab to actually make it out of the bucket and you the only one on the other fucking side?
Yeah.
How life ain't lovely that way. Why not just help everybody? We all get up out this damn bucket and we all thrive on the outside of this bucket. If that makes sense, right?
No, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's why, yeah, we're one of the richest countries in the world that doesn't have universal health care. Why is that? And the only thing I can think of is because of, oppressive rhetoric. It's anti-trans rhetoric. It's racism. It's white supremacy. People who are in the dominant group can't comprehend that if we get access to healthcare, so do they. And so it's a lie that is pushed on them. But we could be a country that have universal healthcare. We could be a country where you don't have to always worry about your bills. You don't have to worry about what you're going to do next if you get laid off, But people in dominant groups choose that because they can't get over their racism and they can't get over their transphobia. And the very, very wealthy thrives on that. And that's wild to me. It's like, pause for a second. Understand that, like, if you were actually more open to other people, if you actually viewed people as other people who are just as struggling as much as you are, then, you're going to understand, you're going to want to demand more because we're paying money like a Netflix subscription, but we're not watching Netflix, with the taxes, and it's wild to me. I'm like you, it's just like goes against my values.
Yeah.
But I'm mad because they're taking our income tax away to what? To fund wars, to fund more billionaires. Like, I do believe billionaires is a failure in policy. The fact that they exist, and but we could change that. And the silver lining that I'm seeing here, because we are seeing the destruction. I was on the east side of the White House. I actually cried when it happened, not because of anything, but because I found a picture of Miss Major by the building. And that was around the time she passed away. And then I'm seeing them destroying this building. But all of this to say, the silver lining is that they're destroying everything. And we have an opportunity to build something new. And that is where I carry my hope at right now. Zoran Mamdani wasn't the only one. We were killing it in every election race this year. Everything turned blue because people are done. People are tired. People want something different that isn't the same old thing. And I have so much hope for next year in the midterms. I have so much hope to see the pendulum swing our way, but swing in a way that is actually for all people and not just for a few people. So I don't know. I'm being optimistic, but that is the only thing that I've been holding on to.
You have to be, right? Because that goes back to what you said. We were talking about earlier about surviving and about resisting and doing everything that they don't want us to do because, right? So it's the same thing. It's just flipped, right? We have to. It's so frustrating to me. It gets really overwhelming to me to just this thought of how people really think you are going against your own best interests to put other people down. Right? How if they consider the United States a superpower nation, and I hate that word. I hate that category. Because even then, everybody in this world, every country in this world, we got enough. It's plentiful. I don't know, you say Mother Earth or the universe or whatever, gave us everything we need right here. We all can have everything. But how powerful would that be if we had universal health care, free education, all of these different things, right? How much more of a superpower nation we would be, right? We were educating our people, feeding our people, giving people good health and happiness. Man.
Yeah, and it's frustrating because the data supports it. The data supports it. And if you look at the data, you'll see that countries of universal health care spend less money, way less money. We have the highest healthcare costs in the world. And it's because these corporate healthcare systems are racking up the bills.
They're gatekeeping.
Making us sick, making us sicker.
I guess that's a part of the plan, I guess, right? Because if you're sick, you need my medicine. So then you're going to go broke to buy this $300 medicine when you could just be spending that money to buy groceries, right?
Right.
It's and I love your analogy of seeing the White House torn down. And it just show, for one, it's symbolism to me. It's the person in the White House saying, I don't give a fuck about this government. I don't give a fuck about you. That's why I'm going to tear this shit the fuck down. That's what I see. It's a total disregard for, I mean, the historical context of this building, right? Even though for people of color, we've never really been represented in this country the right way, but it's still a symbolic, right, of what that house means, that White House means, and who the fuck built it. Let's talk about who the fuck hands built it.
Yep.
Right. And it's just a fuck you. I don't give a shit about this. I don't respect this house. Anyway, and the idea that he's saying, he's spending his own money. Why would you? That's like you going into an Airbnb and remodeling an Airbnb with your own fucking money. You wouldn't do that.
Yeah. This man is spiritually sick. And, I try not to hate people, but oof. I mean, this guy takes the cake, I just don't understand how someone could be so pure and evil that it's almost a tragedy to me. I feel devastated by that. And I think a lot of these people, especially the opposition, I really do believe a lot of them are trans and queer. And they just see us living and thriving, which is why I say, keep living and thriving.
Yeah.
Show them that there's a life outside of their restrictive ideas of what life is.
Yeah.
To me, when I hear stuff like that, I'm a little sad for them.
Yeah.
Because they're not choosing to live. They're just
choosing to live. Yeah.
Following the restrictions that they were following, you know?
And they are epitome of all of these systems. White supremacy.
Yep.
Right? Heteronormativity, all of these things, the class, you are a product of everything, right? And that's sad. That's sad for you. And if you believe in another place outside of this world, of this realm of life, being physically present in this work, this realm, then I hope you, whatever you strive for here, I hope you getting that on the other side. I hope you reaping, right? Or you may open your eyes and be like, fuck, I fucked up. You know what I mean? So people want to find out about advocates for trans equality. People want to learn about you. Where can they find out more about that?
Yeah, I think for transequality.org, the website, and I think we are at Trans Equality Now on Instagram. And you can find me on Instagram too. I'm Devon Ojeda, or Dev Ojeda. I think that's what it is. DEVOJEDA. And I post a lot of things in there, share my life, but the life I have with my husband, which I find a lot of joy in. And at least check out transequality.org and sign up for our actions. So because we need more people. Please join our volunteer huddles. I can send you the links later.
Yeah. Okay.
And donate, and not just donate to us. Donate to Gender Liberation Movement. They're a great organization. I love them. Donate to Transgender Law Center. They're another great organization. Fund your trans organizations because the bigger ones ain't doing much about us. They're great, but they don't always center trans people. So. Donate money, invest money on trans leaders. And I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, for sure. So I'll make sure that we put the links to everything that you just mentioned in the show notes for this episode. So folks don't got to go searching for it. They can just go down and click it and it'll be right there. And so I was going to ask, how can people get involved? But you just told it. So you just said everything. And so this is the part of the show where I love to ask my guests a random ass question. My list is always growing. I'm at 80 questions now. I'm not going to ask you all of them, but the question may or may not have anything to do with what we talked about at all. So just pick a number between 1 and 80, and I'm going to read you that question.
5.
5. Oh, number 5 says, what is your number one fear?
Oh, my number one fear. I guess my number one fear is I worry about my friends and family, but my trans friends more. And my biggest fear is seeing them get harmed. I think I get stressed out about that a lot. Oh, and then also growing tits. I think that's another fear I have. And that's like my nightmares right now.
Oh, shit. Now, I didn't mean to laugh, but that's funny because that is not what the fuck I was thinking you was going to say. But that is definitely a fear. That is a fucking nightmare. If I woke up and I had titties again, I won't say I won't do any harm to myself, but I would lose my fucking shit.
Me too. Me too.
More props to all the people who love their breast.
Yes.
I celebrate you. There are even trans folks who love their breast. I celebrate you. They were not for me. Were they for you?
They were not for me.
Okay. So that's a fear. You know what my number one fear is? Besides titties? Spiders. Oh my goodness. I can't do it.
Spiders are scary.
Yeah. I don't like how they look. I don't like how they move. I just don't like nothing about them. I can take on anything. If I had to pick and choose titties or a spider, I'd take the titties. I'm sorry. That's how afraid I am.
And it's so wild when people are like, well, spiders can like kill flies. You should protect them. And I was like, okay, they can do it away from me.
Yes, out of the house. Don't come in the house with that shit. There's no flies in here. Go outside.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yo,
spiders are scary.
Yes. Devon, thank you so much for being a guest on the show. This has been amazing. Thank you for being vulnerable. Thank you for sharing your story. Yes. Thank you for being a light for other people and a possibility for other people. Because I always say visibility equals possibility. And to know that you are right here in front of us is proof that there's possibility. And so thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Dem Bois, Dem Bois,
Thank you for listening to this week's episode. You have just finished listening to the 8th episode in a row. After every 8 episodes, Dem Bois Podcast takes a month-long break to relax, rejuvenate, and to prepare for the next batch of 8 episodes. So for listeners, this is a great time to go back and re-listen to episodes that you may love and enjoy. Also, it may be a good time to go back and listen to episodes that you may have missed. So also, during this break, be sure to like the podcast. Be sure to share the podcast out with folks in your networks. Also, if you like an episode or if there's an episode that interests you that maybe you have not listened to, if you click on the episode description, you will be able to find out more information about the guests who appeared on that episode. Also, you'll be able to click and to read the transcripts for each episode so you can follow verbatim every word that was said throughout the episode. To maybe you might want to reflect on something that was said or something that really resonated with you and you would like to not only listen to it but also read it. I hope that you like the show. I hope that you listen to more episodes coming up. We have new guests, new topics, new subjects, new everything. So I hope that you enjoy and see you on the next 8 episodes.